The problem that we've got in South Africa is one of political ignorance and illiteracy in the black educated masses of South Africa. This group is so unconscious and so unaware of the ideology of what it is that they're supposed to achieve politically and economically that they do not have the tools to emancipate themselves and bring themselves out of the subjugation in which they exist. If you look into the history of developed economies, particularly Europe, you will recognize that one thing was all classes understood the importance of bringing themselves out of the subjugation or the oppression by other classes for them to be able to emancipate themselves out of exploitation. The problem with the black middle class in South Africa, drunk from the debt, drunk from jobs in which they get paid paper money that they save in the banks, drunk from debt on plastic, and drunk from the German-made cars, they don't understand that they are subjugated and they do not own any part of South Africa. They are under the impression that they follow the class structure of classical Europe, which puts them as bourgeoisies, nobilities, and workers, without realizing that without control of the factors of production, without control of capital, they in fact fall under the class of workers or maybe the petty bourgeoisie. But what they also don't understand is the fact that capital is beginning to be consolidated by another class that has continued to subjugate them and will continue to subjugate them until this consolidation leads to the elimination of the worker class through machines, computers that will take the very same jobs that the educated middle class black people are currently occupying. In marketing, we say that you've got to understand market segments according to the needs of the markets. The very same suffices with classes. You must understand the needs of classes to be able to define the classes that exist in a nation. South Africa does not go according to the classical class system of Europe, but we have our own unique class system in which those that control and own capital are determined by racial divisions. And the reason they are determined by racial divisions is the basic need for survival. White South Africa will not survive, cannot survive, if it does not maintain the continuous control and domination of the economic system. This means that their control of the factors of production, their control of capital is unequivocal and is necessary for them to remain relevant and not to become extinct. It is through the control of economic power that white South Africans are able to have the power to manipulate the judicial system. It is the means by which they continue to institute European legal conventions and Roman Dutch law legal conventions and decisions in the courts that create precedents and case law that keeps them in a position of advantage. It is through that they're able to continue to dominate the education system, and it is through that they're able to marshal the last course of defense, which is military arms, military strength, and the ownership of weapons as a last resort of defense. And the failure of the black middle class to understand that white people have converged, have come together in common interest. The English with his difference with the Afrikaner with his differences with the other Europeans have decided to put their differences aside as a class of people with common interest to protect their interests against the lower classes, which happen to be blacks and non-whites. The Indians of South Africa understand this battle. This is why it is important for them to control factors of production. This is why they've gone out of the way to take advantage of a system that did not really make concerted laws against them to amass factors of production in order to gain power in South Africa. It's for that reason that the Guptas are hated. Because as a group, as a people, they've begun to consolidate power that makes the Indians in South Africa the richest subgroup in South Africa. But the difference between the Indians and the white class is the Indians do not control natural resources. They do not control minerals. Those still remain in the domain of Europeans. And our black classes that are fragmented, that are not together in common interest, continue to be administrators in this system of pillaging the resources of South Africa, in the system of keeping the resources and mineral resources of South Africa in white hands, which then automatically attracts all other resources under their control, which is labor, capital, and thought. And until the black middle class begin to understand that they, as a race group, constitute a class that has middle class and lower class workers working for white capital, we will never be able to emancipate ourselves. So long you don't control the law, so long you don't control capital in order to go to court to challenge injustices, so long you don't control the factors of production, so long you do not control how your money and your debt is made, and so long you don't control your minerals, which are getting depleted on a daily basis, you will forever be an underclass that will be exploited. As we speak, one of the things that the ANC will not tell you, and one of the things that the government of the day will not tell you, is that the reason that they cannot expropriate without compensation is that the very land that was stolen from our ancestors today belongs to foreign banks and foreign financial institutions, because they are the ones that have given debt for the commercial developments, the property developments, and even investment in farming land for our white farmers, our white property owners, and our European masters to continue to make developments in South Africa. So you cannot expropriate land that belongs to American banks, that belongs to the World Bank, that belongs to IMF institutions, that belongs to European banks, because they will be able to utilize their mother country's military might and political might to subjugate South African government. Our politicians, by allowing continuous debt to be taken and for the mortgaging of the very same land that was stolen, have tacitly acknowledged or accepted that that land belongs to those who are taking the debt out on it. So as a black middle class, of which your politicians are, our black executives are, as long as they don't understand, and as long as you don't understand the importance of collecting together in common interest to stop your subjugation, you will forever be subjugated. But this is where the kicker is. The time to take back your resources is running out. We're going into the AI age, in which your jobs as chartered accountants, as engineers, as architects, as actuaries, shall be taken and done by computers. We're getting into an age where the future armies are going to be drones and robots. And you will no longer have the ability or the power to fight a system that uses machines and technology that you don't have. You take your resources in South Africa now, or in the next 5 years, forget about it. Because you're going to use your debt and you're going to lose your ability to fight the system.